sidewalk areas that are not also meter bases?
Yes.
Upside down here.
I know, I thought. I'm
Just
sorry.
try to raise your voice. I can
Sorry.
tell, I'm having a hard time.
Okay,
I'm sure that the parties in council.
So the green on these is, he was asking if there were sidewalks. Yes.
But are the sidewalk areas and metered areas one and the same, or there's some sidewalk areas without meters and some metered areas with
Right.
sidewalks?
There's some sidewalk areas without meters.
So is there any way to determine from this map what areas have sidewalks but not meters?
I have not done the map, no, I don't know, I would say this does, this determines it in blue that those are sidewalks.
Your voice is starting to trail off again.
Well,
Just
let me,
try to-
I think if I stand further away, that will probably encourage the testimony. Is it fair to say that even though your territory apparently is all of downtown Keene, that you're basically, there's some areas you're gonna spend more time than other areas?
No,
Isn't it fair to say that you spend most of your time in the area where there are parking meters?
I would say, yeah, 75%.
And most of the areas where there are parking meters are also areas where there are sidewalks, correct?
Correct.
And what is the typical width of a sidewalk in Keene? No idea.
How wide the sidewalks
Yeah.
are? It varies, depending on where you are, 4 feet,
4 to 6 feet width.
6 feet seems excessive, but.
So something that most of the sidewalks are something less than 6 feet in width. Now, if you're headed one way on the sidewalk, and I'm headed on the other way on the sidewalk, and the two of us pass, typically how much distance is there between you and me?
2 or 3 feet?
Now, during the course of your typical work day, how many people do you encounter on sidewalks?
Maybe
Hundreds?
possibly 800.
And those people would typically be within 2 or 3 feet of you, correct?
If we're passing each other, yes.
And there's nothing objectionable in itself about another person being 2 or 3 feet away from you, correct?
Correct.
Now, if somebody came up to you on the sidewalk 2 or 3 feet away and said, "You're doing a great job," would you find that obnoxious or objectionable?
No, of course not.
But if someone came up and told you you were doing a bad job, particularly if that was a frequent occasion, you would probably act differently to that, is that correct?
Objection, based on the form is ambiguous when it says frequent. Are we talking about the repeated daily, or are we talking about a one-off or a two-off situation?
You may answer the question.
The problem, my question again,
Yeah.
is that if somebody, again, from the 2 or 3 foot distance, came up to you and told you that you were doing a bad job, would you regard that as being obnoxious or objectionable?
Initially, my reaction would be guarded, but if it continued, yes, it would be objectionable.
If it happened every day, that would be objectionable, correct?
Yes.
Now, Attorney Bauer asked you earlier about your understanding of the rights of demonstrators. Do you have any background or training in what people's First Amendment rights are?
No.
Now, is it fair to say that in any given day, you are likely to be covered at some point during the day, virtually every part of downtown?
Do I cover every part of the downtown?
Yeah, any given day.
Yes.
And is it fair to say in terms of like the areas around, sidewalks around sort of near the courthouse, sort of around the central square area, that in those areas you're likely to do it multiple times in any given day?
Yes.
And if this court were to issue an injunction prohibiting certain designated persons from ever being within 30 feet of you or 50 feet of you during their workday, is there any place, any sidewalk, any public street in the King area where they could safely remain without being at risk of violating court order?
It's a hypothetical question that doesn't have facts related to this case. We're talking about within the proximity of taunting, harassing, intimidating, interfering with jobs. Premised on that, I withdraw my objection. In other words, we're not
So
asking
the
for a
city's not
blanket.
asking for an injunction to prohibit the defendants from being within the proximity of the officers. It's just to be in that proximity and engage in the behavior.
Yes.
Now, if I could, man, please
You-
respond to that.
Absolutely.
I didn't hear it.
He wanted a minute.
No.
All right, this is from the petition. The petitioner respectfully requests that this court, A, issue appropriate orders of notice, B, schedule a hearing on the written injunction, and C, after hearing, issue a preliminary injunction restraining respondents or anyone under their direct supervision, employment, or control, from coming within a safety zone of 50 feet of any PEO, while that PEO is on duty performing his or her employment duties as required by the city.
Well, it's certainly within the context, Your Honor, of the petition that's been filed. The proposed court order, which I provided to Mr. Meyer and to you, specifically states, and I'll read it in the record if you like, the defendant shall not engage in touching, taunting, obstructing, detaining, hindering, impeding, blocking, intimidating, or harassing any parking enforcement officer within 30 feet of any PEO during the performance of her or his.
So I take it as now proposed, the city is narrowing the scope of the requested in preliminary injunctive relief.
Well, yes. I mean, this was completed.
So that this is, that the relief on preliminary basis that you're requesting is relief is set forth in the proposed order.
Yes, sir.
Attorney Meyer, with that understanding,
We are,
you
let me
want
say,
to rephrase your question?
well, I just want to say this, Your Honor. This is something I received when I was in the courtroom this morning. I haven't had a chance to read it. Could I have 2 minutes to read it, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. like to make sure I understand whether or not the city of Keene, through this request, is withdrawing all of the other injunctive relief that they previously requested.
Your Honor, I'd have to look at the petition during a break to answer that question.
Well, I mean,
Well,
if this-
then, for purposes, we now have a witness's testimony. I don't know if you want to, at least in terms of the breadth of the question, I think we can now narrow that question.
But Your Honor, nevertheless, quite, I mean, not necessarily pertinent to this witness's testimony, it would be helpful to have a statement from the city.
I agree.
In fact, this is the only relief they now request.
I agree. We're certainly not going to conclude this before the lunch break, so I'm sure the city can have an opportunity to look at that and see whether there's been any further narrowing.
You testified earlier that certain defendants had told you that you should leave your job, is that right? Something along those lines. Excuse me?
Yes, something along those lines.
Now, in your mind, does that constitute taunting?
Well, it's not something that I would consider a friendly thing to say to someone, so it was definitely negative.
But would you, again, I'm just trying to understand, from your perspective, would you consider this to be taunting, or do you not understand what the word taunting means in that context?
I don't consider that taunting.
Has any of the defendants said anything to you that you regard as actually being taunting?
Yes.
What?
This James Cleveland saying the poor Linda routine. Poor
What-
Linda, poor Linda, robbing from all these nice citizens of Keene all these years. Poor Linda.
Anything else that's been said to you at any point that you regard as being taunting by any defendant?
When I've been chalking, told I'm vandalizing people's cars, that kind of thing.
Did any defendant tell you to do anything?
Yes, while I was chalking.
Which one?
Graham Olson.
Any other comment that was made to you by any defendant in regards to taunting?
It's such a fine line there. No, I'm gonna say no.
You say
Yes.
fine line, you say.
Well, I mean, things like, comments like, you know, I'm morally superior to you, or, you know, you work for people that, excuse me, work for people that solve everything with guns and violence. Is that taunting? Yeah, I guess, it's rude, but
Is it fair to say it's not clear to you whether a particular comment is taunting or not taunting, what that means?
I guess I associate it with more of a, like using my name, being more personal, using particularly my name when they address me with stuff like that.
Any other comment that you regard potentially as being taunting that was addressed to you by any defendant?
No.
a certain quota of tickets that you're supposed to issue every day?
No,
Have you been facing any type of criticism from your supervisors for not issuing enough tickets?
criticizing for not issuing enough tickets, we don't have a quota, so what would enough be?
Well, that's what I'm asking, is have you ever been faulted for issuing too few tickets?
No.
How often do you receive job evaluations?
Every year,
What time of year?
January,
So your most recent evaluation was in January,
correct,
and what was the quality of that evaluation?
it was fine,
Your supervisors thought you were doing a good job,
yes,
and has you received any subsequent feedback from anybody in the supervisory capacity indicating you're doing anything less than a good job?
recently,
And any time since that evaluation in January?
I guess I don't understand what.
Yeah, you said you got a good evaluation in January, and I'm asking you, is anything from the supervisory feedback perspective